Welcome to the Pro Brick exclusive YouTube channel, where we're going to talk about sexual marketplace value or personal sexual marketplace value or personal dating marketplace value. If you haven't already, subscribe and ring the bell if you like the video. Like, comment and share at the end. I'm going to use the scriptures, and what I'm going to try and get across today is how important it is to realize why staying in a relationship has everything to do with your value in life. I'll tell you why. Because you're investing yourself, and investments bring interest, should produce interest. The problem is with relationships today, not all of us have all the characteristics we need to perform in the relationship the way that we need to or the way that we should. And of course, if you're airing a problem, or if your partner's airing a problem and you're not taking any notice of that, then you're going to find yourself in all sorts of trouble, because people have certain amounts of tolerance, and once those tolerances are being pushed, usually the way in which the universe works is something will happen that you could not think of or conceive, and the next thing, everything's fallen out the window. I try and present myself in a way in which that doesn't happen. It's not easy, but unfortunately not everybody's like that. Now, this is Proverbs 31, and we all know, anybody that knows anything about the Bible knows what that means. It means that we're going to be looking at a wife of noble character. And if you're a woman watching this, you might immediately say, well, I was a wonderful wife and I did that and this and all this. And that's fine. You probably were, and you probably still are. But when we're looking at dating marketplace values, what you've got to realize is whenever you come out of a relationship, you are going back to a dating marketplace value of 0. That means nil. And you can come into that arena and tell all your stories about, how you were married and then you stayed in it for 5 or 10 years when you shouldn't have, and you should have got out earlier, and your ex-husband was a narcissist, but we still get along, and we're amicable, or we don't get along anymore, and he was a drunk and he had erectile dysfunction. There's 1,000 million. He had an affair, he cheated with my best friend. Everybody seems to tell the same story. And it's usually alcohol or drug related or cheating related, some kind of breakdown, lack of sex, lack of intimacy, basically just unable to continue with the relationship. And that's not the end of the world, and that's fine. That happens for a lot of us. But what the problem is, when you do have a breakup, it doesn't matter who you are or what you say about yourself, you are back at 0. You are putting yourself back to 0. And whether you understand it or not, or whether you sense it or not, that's what happens inside your spirit and your psyche. And if you think you're above that, then you are not going out to meet somebody with the right frame of mind. You are single for a reason, be it your fault or not. But whatever the reason, be it your fault or not, you are back at 0. Your value is 0. You only build value for yourself in the relationship area of life by the amount of time you stay in it. That shows your maturity and skill in all aspects of intimate relationship arena. Something's gone wrong. There's a reason why we're on our own. All of us, be it positive or negative, but as far as I'm concerned, when you meet somebody new, you have to start at zero. It's no good exalting anybody until you see the fruit that's going to come out of who they are. And it's like when you mix a cake. When the ingredients come together, when you meet somebody, that's all well and good. It's when you start kneading your spirit and your soul together with the other person that's when you find out what's going to happen, where things are going to end up, whether things are going to go forward or in reverse, because you've never mixed these two unique ingredients together before. They might start off well when the union first begins, but as the ingredients mature and all that, it just might not be right. Most people in these days are pretty quick to tell whether spiritually and emotionally, intimately and the rest of it, if you're going to gel with somebody. That's really not hard to work out. What is hard to work out is what's going to surface as the relationship goes along, and whether this person's got the ability to want to double down and make it work in a healthy way by the Spirit, where need be, or whether they're going to double down and stay at a zero mentality and just keep checking out. A lot of people just keep checking out. That's why it's admirable and recommended by the Holy Sacred Scriptures to, where as far as possible, train yourself, equip yourself to be able to meet somebody that you like and protect it and value it and nurture it and sustain it. Because relationships that last, and people know how to make them last, are the best experience that you can ever have. This idea now that swapping and changing and all this other stuff's healthy and all the rest, it's absolutely not. It was never intended for anybody to swap and change. Some people do it and get away with it. Other people try it and absolutely destroy themselves. But whatever the case might be, my point is, whenever you start a new relationship, and this is why cheating hardly ever works. People that cheat are coming in at a minus, not even zero. They're below zero because they're approaching the thing from an immoral status. And anything immoral that's not worked out on integrity or moral things that matter in life, things about truth and honesty and standing by the other person and doing the right thing, they're all positive things. They're all keep you at a level minus starting position. If you approach somebody on an unintegral, immoral, out of order, misconductive way, like a way in which you're betraying somebody or you're lying to them or you're manipulating them to get into their life, you're starting from a minus, and that's a debt, that's a debit, and it just doesn't seem to work in most cases. It just doesn't, because people don't like debt. And you can sense it in the spirit realm and the emotional realm, and this is where a lot of it's getting missed today. People are thinking that it's all about looks and how you feel, and no. It's all about how your spirit's affected, how your emotions are affected, how aware you are of where the other person's travelling within themselves. Like, I mean, some women I've met, they've got no clue and don't care about where I've been headed and how I feel. And this is the problem today. A lot of these dating coaches and things are trying to come up with, they are coming up with strategies and things, and what to do when your partner leaves, what to do when you leave and all that. And it's all helpful, but for what purpose? Okay, when you have a breakup, you're resetting yourself back to zero, like a pinball machine when it's tilted. You're going back to zero. That's it. Finished. You're back. Your value is zero. It doesn't matter what you say about yourself or how good you look. You're zero. So a wife of noble character. Who can find a virtuous and capable wife? Well, that's a good question, and it might equally be fair to ask who can find a virtuous and capable husband. I think it's something that works both ways, and it should work both ways, and it takes work to be, particularly for man, because you've got to be vigorous and you've got to be energetic. There's certain elements of the relationship that require you to be healthy and strong and capable. And these are the responsibilities that both of us have. And when you're starting from zero, okay, you can think you can come into the thing and run on the initial lust and limerence and all the other stuff that the honeymoon phase brings. But it'll all come down to the nitty-gritty of who's able to long haul, who's able to get down and get dirty and keep the income coming in, emotionally, physically, spiritually, mentally, sexually, intimately, to maintain the relationship. And this is the thing, if you really care about somebody, you're not going to push them to the point where they're going to give in. And if they really care about you, they're not going to do things that are going to aggravate and upset you. And these are the ways in which, in the initial stages of meeting somebody, you have to have your awareness about you and be able to tell, because you're starting from zero. It takes time to understand what the other person's about and where they're at. And people say, well, they hide it. No, they don't hide it at the start. It takes time to see who is where and what is where after the relationship starts. That's the whole thing. Nobody knows until you spend enough time together to get off zero and to see if what's being invested is going to produce interest. Now, like some investments, it might produce interest for the initial start, but the love market within the relationship could crash. And then what happens? You go back to zero, or you might even go back to debt. You might be so wounded. So you've got to see, relationships are consequential, whether they turn out to be positive or negative, because there's so many dynamics connected to it. Once you are outside the initial 20s of your life, once you hit 30, 40, 50, 60, you're in a complete different dimension, which runs on zero. Unless you can get off zero and really start to build something nice. What I find is you just start to build something nice and someone will interfere or something. There's a million things that can happen to undermine your investment. This is the point. It's going to come down to the character and attributes, experiences and values of the person that you meet. So who can find a virtuous and capable wife or husband? Well, going by statistics, not many of us today. And they are more precious than rubies. Her husband can trust her. I've trusted all of the women that I've been with, right? And I pretty well think they could trust me. But for some strange reason, life's got a way of just bringing challenges to the relationship that oftentimes are more than are just too difficult to get past. And I think when you're in a relationship, you've got to honour that person enough to be able to resolve. If they bring something to the table that needs to be resolved, and you're just not willing to resolve it, then you're not virtuous and you're not capable, are you? I mean, you could just stick on this line without going into the rest of it and ask this question for the rest of your life. Who is virtuous and capable to be in a relationship? Because when you're starting at zero, it's going to come down to how virtuous and capable you are. And we live in a society today where these values and preciousnesses preciousnesses, the rubies of love and the diamonds of love that we're all looking for. We're just not willing to fight for these days. There's not enough backbone. We're lost in our structure and our way. The last verse of this scripture, and you can read Proverbs 31 for yourself. It says, charm is this, and this is fantastic, because this is what we've all got to be aware of. Charm is deceptive, and beauty does not last. Charm is deceptive, and beauty does not last. That's a very humbling and sobering part of the sacred scriptures, isn't it? And if more of us stopped and just thought about that for a minute, we probably have more value for the people that want to share time and life with us. Charm is deceptive because you don't know what's going on underneath. When you meet someone starting at zero, it's going to come down to really what's going on inside. And one thing's for sure for all of us, beauty just does not last. Every day that goes by, beauty does not, it's multi-billion dollar business for people to try and look young and beautiful, isn't it? But what's beauty if all you are underneath is deceptive? You need to be way more than that. These are the people that bring trouble. These are the people that are out there trying to link up with others from the wrong foundation, from a negative, from a debt, from a characteristic debt. So how are they going to build anything that's going to last? Beauty, they say, is only skin deep, but even that only lasts for a while. Can you see how you've got to look at this with great wisdom and with great inspiration to say to yourself, I don't want my charm to be deceptive. And I know one thing's for sure, I'm getting older and I've only got a certain amount of time. I want to be honest and I want to be clear and transparent and I want to work away at this thing. But too many times one or the other breaks down. And the debts that they have inside their hearts and minds rob them, right, from building love that has a positive percentage that will last. But a woman who fears the Lord, or people who fear the Lord, will be greatly praised. The reward for her shall be done. Let her deeds publicly declare her praise. See, it's only by the things that we do to enforce and strengthen and stand for and by the relationship that will be rewarded, that will produce a profit. And without virtue and capability, you're just going to end up in debt. You will not get past zero. So I hope that makes sense. I hope you understand how serious this little message is. It's about character and value, knowing what you have, protecting love if it's good, protecting it, not just willy-nillying around and having interferers and all the rest of this shit that can happen to people. I mean, people are falling by the wayside in relationship debt, and usually if you're in relationship debt, everything else seems to end up in debt. If you're on the wrong side of it, these people that have got a way of wrecking things, And they do, they just have, and they will. That's why the question's asked. Who can find a virtuous and capable partner? That's a fairer way of saying it. Who can? And just when you think you have, guess what happens? That's when you know if love is real or not. That's when you know if it's going to last or not. This is Reverend Dr. Jason W. Morrison on the ProBrick exclusive YouTube channel. Thank you for joining me, and bye for now.